In the last video, we looked at 10 questions you can ask to check if your thesis statement is a good one, if it's going to help you to write a good essay. And now we're going to take a set of example thesis statements that each have problems. We're going to ask those questions of them and see what happens, and try to use our answers to find solutions to the problems and make our thesis statements better. Once again, if you are watching this on YouTube, in the links below the YouTube video, you can find this document and download it. You can, if you want to get more out of this video, print this out, read the instructions, and find the problem with the thesis statements before you continue this video. In fact, if you want to really benefit from this video, even try writing new thesis statements, fixing those problems one by one, and then you can compare your solution, your fixes, with mine. All right, so if you want to really get the most out of this video, that's the way to do it. But let's continue with fixing problem thesis statements. So here are the thesis statements that are on the handout. Each one of them has problems, and we're going to go through each one and we're going to ask these 10 questions to see if the thesis statement has a problem and to figure out how to fix it. Okay, so the first one is England and France have had a very complex relationship that changed the history of Europe. Let's go through. Last sentence, we're going to skip this question because each time, well, we're looking at these sentences out of the context of a paragraph. Does the statement clearly state the topic? Yes, I would say so. England and France, history. Clearly, we know what this essay is about in the big picture. Does the thesis take a clear position? Well, having a complex relationship that changes the history of Europe is a clear position, and it's in simple, clear language as well. So it's okay on the first 4 questions. Could smart people disagree about this with good reasons? Well, here we start coming into trouble because I think a smart person would look at this thesis statement and say, obviously. This thesis statement is kind of obvious. It's how could you argue it's not true when England and France are 2 of the biggest, richest, and most powerful countries in Europe and have been for more than 1,000 years? Is the position specific and focused? And here I think is where this thesis statement falls apart. Complex relationship is a very vague term, and this is one thing to notice in your own thesis statements is look for words that are not specific. Look for words that could mean a lot of different things. Vagueness. Because complex relationship could mean anything. There are many different types of relationship 2 countries can have. Okay, now to go through the rest of the 10 questions, there's also no preview of support. Okay, I don't know if we're overstating or understating the position because this position is so broad, it's hard to say anything about it. Is there a preview? No, there isn't a preview of the main ideas, the supporting ideas, and because there's no preview, there's no parallel form, and we have the opposite problem of too much detail. So we need to focus this thesis statement, and here are some ways to do it. One thing to do when you need to focus a topic is think of the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. Often, trying to answer one of those questions more clearly will give you a more focused topic. So one way that we can focus this one is by using when. France and England have a 1,000-year history, more than that. So let's choose a time period. We can focus our time period maybe during the 1980s. That's enough to focus our topic. Between the 2 world wars, or from 1946 to 1960, the post-war development time. Any of those time frames is enough to focus our study and focus our topic a little more, so that instead of having to read 1,000 books, because there's a whole library on England and France, we can read a few books. Another place to focus is the type of relationship. It says complex relationship. Well, what does complex relationship mean? Which area of relationship can we focus on? So we could focus on cultural relationship, the cultural exchanges, art, music, language, vocabulary, philosophy, stories have all gone back and forth between England and France. So that's one way to do it. Another way is to look at trade, economic relationships. Technology goes back and forth, food, materials. Okay, diplomacy and military are another way that two countries can relate. And if we focus on any of those, England and France's trade relationship, or their military relationship, or their cultural relationship, if we also focus the time period, now instead of needing to read a library of books, we might be able to find a few books and focus our topic and not use up all of our time learning the entire history of Europe. Another problem in this thesis statement is where it says change the history of Europe. Well, now do we need to put European history in there too? Because that's going to, again, give us so much more reading. So maybe we want to focus on, there are a few different ways to do this. Okay, so here's one. Since World War II ended, England and France have had big changes in cultural exchange in the areas of philosophy, literature, and theater. Or we might say, we might want to focus on before, during, and after the Napoleonic Wars. And that's going to be our three supporting ideas. Is we're going to focus on one of these areas, maybe the diplomacy between England and France. And we're going to look at how diplomacy changed before, during, and after the Napoleonic Wars. Or maybe we can look at, it says change the history of Europe in the original thesis statement. So maybe we'll look at how England and France's, maybe their trade relationship affected the economy of the Netherlands. Or maybe we'll look at how it affected the economy of the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. And that is our three supporting ideas. Those are the three supporting ideas we need. So how we focus it might give us our area for our three supporting ideas. And there are about 100 different correct thesis statements we could make from this original once we make it more specific. But you need to make your topic more specific. Often the 5 W's is a good way to do it. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Right? Who's affected, which groups of people, or what type, what kind. Okay. Where, maybe we'll focus on our regions of England, or regions of France, or regions of Europe. There are lots of ways to do it, but we need to do something to focus this one. All right. So there's our example of fixing the problem. Okay, but there are many, many other ways to do it. Next one, there are advantages and disadvantages to owning a car in a big city like Seoul. So skipping the first question, does it clearly state the topic? I think so. Owning a car in a big city is the topic. Does it take a clear position? And I think this is where we have a problem this time, is we have advantages and disadvantages. So this is a thesis statement that's trying to do both sides. Okay, that creates problems because it's hard to do both sides fairly in the limitations of your essay. It might make you seem indecisive as a writer, and it's really easy for your essay to get really long if you're trying to clearly explain various viewpoints in just one essay. Let's see. Could people disagree about this? Well, if we take a side, I think that smart people could disagree about it. But right now we haven't taken a side. Are the topic and position in simple language? Yes. Is the position specific and focused? I think if we take one side, it will be. Have I avoided overstating or understating my position? I don't think that's a problem here. Is there a preview? No, there isn't a preview. Does the preview use parallel form? Well, we need a preview first. Have I avoided giving too much detail? Yes. So let's choose a side for this one, and let's add a preview in parallel form. Here are some ways to do it. Let's choose, well, we can do both. We can choose there are disadvantages to owning a car in a big city like Seoul. For example, traffic jams, road rage, and parking fees. Or we could focus on the advantages and say there are advantages to owning a car in a big city like Seoul. For example, privacy, freedom, and status. These are two ways to fix this one. We have parallel previews, right? Noun, noun, noun. Okay, traffic jams, noun, road rage, noun, parking fees, noun. Each one is 2 words, which is another little nice bit of parallelism. Okay, but these are 2 pretty good thesis statements. Next one. All countries need to find new energy sources instead of depending on oil. So skipping the first one, does it clearly state the topic? New energy sources might be the topic, or depending on oil might be the topic. Both of those are clearly stated. Does it take a clear position? I think so. Need to find new energy sources is pretty clear. Is this in simple language? Yes. Could smart people disagree about this? This is getting close to being pretty obvious, because the media for quite a while now has talked about the dangers and the problems with oil. But depending on how we focus it, we might be able to get by an obvious position by focusing a lot in our preview and in our details. And that's one way to get around the problem of a kind of obvious topic. Is the position specific and focused? Have I avoided overstating or understating my position? I think this is where the problem is, because of the word all. One way to fix this is, of course, to change that all to most. We should avoid absolute language. Also, let's see, is there a preview of my supporting ideas? No. This one needs supporting ideas too. Does it use parallel form? Well, we don't have a preview, so we can't answer that yet. Have I avoided giving too much detail? Yes. With that most, one way to fix this, okay, is we need our preview. So how we focus our preview will decide how our essay goes. We could focus on, instead of saying all countries, we could focus on different types of countries. Post-industrial countries, countries with information economies or service economies, industrial countries, countries with manufacturing economies, and agrarian countries, countries with farming economies, need to find a replacement, or need to find new energy sources instead of depending on oil. So that's one way we could do it. Another way we could do it is we could talk about the different energy sources available, right? So most countries need to find new energy sources like solar, wind, and hydropower. So now, instead of talking about different types of economies and what different types of economies need to do, we're going to talk about maybe the advantages or disadvantages of different green energy types. Okay, most countries need substitute energy, need to find new energy sources instead of depending on oil, because oil is limited, dirty, and dangerous. Okay, so now instead we're giving reasons. This is why countries need to. And if we have most countries instead of all, I think we can use this. Okay, it's limited, oil is going to run out, it's dirty, it causes pollution, and it's dangerous. A lot of wars have been fought over oil, so it causes chaos in the regions where there's a lot of oil often. So those are ways to fix this thesis statement. All right. Next one, there's no magic trick to learning English faster. The students who learn fastest are the ones who put time for studying, 30 minutes each day, effort in memorizing, reading and practicing, and desire as a sincere wish to improve into their studies. Now, skipping number 1, does it clearly state the topic? there's no magic to learning English faster or the students who learn fastest. Yeah, it states the topic clearly. Does it take a clear position? Yeah, there's no magic trick, and then the supporting ideas fit that too. Are they in simple language? Well, they're in simple language, but they're using a lot of words, which can be confusing in its own way. But most of these words are not difficult words or unusual words. Could smart people disagree about this? I think it's arguable enough. People could argue different things are necessary for learning English faster. Is the position specific and focused? It's specific. It's got time and effort and desire. That's specific. Have I avoided overstating or understating? Yeah, I think so. Is there a preview of my main supporting ideas? There is, but this is where we're getting a problem, is the preview is not using parallel form. Okay. And have I avoided giving too much detail? This is where the real problem is here. This kind of detail, time for 30 minutes each day, that kind of detail belongs in the supporting paragraphs, not in the main essay. Okay. Memorizing, reading, and practicing, again, that belongs in the supporting paragraph, not in the essay, not in the thesis statement, sorry. Desire is a sincere wish to improve. Again, that's a little just more detail than we need. So, how do we fix this? Well, simple is beautiful. The students who learn English fastest put in time, effort, and desire to improve. Okay, that gets a yes on all 10 of these questions. It has a preview that's in parallel form. It's simple, it's clear, it's specific, it's focused, and it's easy to understand. This is a really good thesis statement. Okay, next one. To be successful in university, students must learn prioritizing, punctual, and how to work independently. This one it states the topic clearly, success in university. It has a clear position. The topic and position are in simple language. Could smart people disagree? Smart people might disagree about the 3 specific things that are mentioned. Is it specific and focused? Yes, it is. Have I avoided overstating or understating? I don't think that's a problem here. Is there a preview? There is a preview. Is the preview in parallel form? That's where the problem is here. We have an ing word, prioritizing. We have an adjective, punctual. And we have a how-to phrase, how to work independently. So we need all 3 of those to be in the same form. And let's take a look at how. Okay, there are a few ways to be successful in university. We could do how-to phrases, how to set priorities, how to be punctual, and how to work independently. Okay, 3 how-tos. We could use 3 nouns, prioritizing, punctuality, and independence. Okay, and those are both ways to make our preview parallel, and that will make our thesis statement easier to read and nicer. Okay, the next one. I think King Sejong was the greatest leader in Korean history, because there are lots of reasons. Well, this one, maybe you've noticed a pattern here. If we start at the bottom, there isn't a preview of the main supporting ideas. Okay. Does it clearly state the topic? Greatest leader in Korean history? Yes. Clear position? Yes. Sejong's the greatest. Topic and position. Simple language? Yes, they're in simple language. Could smart people disagree? Well, maybe some smart people would choose a different greatest leader. Okay, that could be. Is the position specific and focused? Yeah. Have I avoided overstating or understating? This is one place where some students say this is a problem in this thesis statement. Calling him the greatest makes this a very bold statement. Now, one thing to remember is sometimes it's okay to be extreme. And King Sejong's case for being the greatest leader in Korean history might be one of those examples. I think that nobody would disagree that King Sejong is in the top 5, and very few people would disagree that he's in the top 3 greatest leaders. So if we change this to one of the greatest leaders in Korean history, then I don't think anybody would dispute that. Okay, I don't think anybody would feel that there's a problem, that we're overstating our position. Now this might be getting close to being obvious and non-controversial, and the way to fix that is to get into detail, right? To get into more detail. So that's what we need to do here is, and this is the problem, is the position specific and focused? Well, there are lots of reasons it's not specific at all. Okay, it means that there's no preview, just saying, oh, there are lots of reasons. The other problem with this thesis statement, of course, is that this is a funny one because we just talked about how it might be overstating its position, but it also understates its position in the words I think. Words like I think or maybe usually don't sound good in a thesis statement because you sound uncertain of yourself and unconfident. And really, as the writer of the essay, you've chosen the topic, you did the research, you should be confident and try to show confidence in your thesis statement that, well, this is something I learned about and I think I'm correct. If you don't think you're correct, why are you writing about it? So take out phrases like I think and sound confident in your thesis statement. So that's how we would fix this one, is we need a preview of support. Okay. King Sejong was the greatest leader in Korea's history because he created Hangul, he developed science, and he cared for his subjects. Now we have specific, detailed support. This is a pretty good thesis statement. I think it would be okay to say the greatest because of who Sejong is, but if you chose somebody other than Sejong, you might have to make a case for that person. Okay, we're down to our last few examples, and so let's just run through these questions on a couple more, and then we will be finished our thesis statement thing. And hopefully you'll have the tools to write a really good thesis statement of your own. And you've seen that these questions are effective in finding the problems in a thesis statement. Kimchi is Korea's most popular side dish. Now, skipping question 1, does it clearly state the topic? Yes. Does it take a clear position? Yeah, it's clear about what they want to say about kimchi. Are the topic and position in simple language? Yes, definitely simple language. Could smart people actually disagree about this with good reasons? Maybe. And it depends on what facts are available to you. And this is where we start getting into the problem with this thesis statement. Is the position specific and focused? Well, kimchi is popular is a pretty broad statement. It's pretty general. So I think it could be more specific. Have I avoided overstating or understating my position? Most popular might be overstating because it's another of those extreme words, right? So if we're using the word most, then we need support for it. Maybe it's true that kimchi is Korea's most popular side dish, but we need to be able to show that, to prove it. Next one, is there a preview? Now, we don't have a preview here. Does the preview use parallel form? We don't have that either. And have I avoided giving too much detail? We haven't gotten too much detail. I think the biggest problem here is this controversial? Could smart people disagree about this? Because what we have here is a statement of fact. Now, a statement of fact either it's correct or it's incorrect, which means all we have to do is find the right statistic. How much money did Koreans spend last year on kimchi? And we can compare that to how much money Koreans spent on other side dishes, and we can have an answer to this, which means it's not a very good thesis topic because it's not arguable. You can't argue with a fact, right? It's the most popular. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. That's all you can do. And once one person shows that, no, here's a statistic that shows I'm correct, there's no more discussion. That's not a very interesting thesis statement. So I would say that this one is kind of obvious. It's kind of uncontroversial. Now, one way to fix this is to go into the detail then. So we need support and it's uncontroversial. Now, one way to do it is to get into the details, right? And so we can say Korea's most popular side dish with varieties unique to Gangwon, Jeolla, and Gyeongsang provinces. Now, that's one way to make it more specific. And then I'm going to talk about the types of kimchi that are unique in Gangwon, unique in Jeolla, and unique in Gyeongsang. Okay, then even though the fact is not controversial, I'm giving a type and quality of information that my reader will find interesting, I hope. Another way to do it is to give reasons. Okay, kimchi is Korea's most popular side dish because it's healthy, versatile, and delicious, right? It's healthy, it's versatile, you can put it with any food, and it's delicious. We still have the problem that this is not very controversial, but at least now we have support, okay? Because you can't argue with a fact. Now, another thing you can do is go against popular opinion. If this is a fact, then let's go against popular opinion. Maybe kimchi is opinion. Maybe kimchi is really popular in Korea. Maybe it's the most popular in Korea. Maybe it's the favorite side dish in Korea, which makes it, just like the example earlier where we said it's interesting to support fast food because most people criticize it. Well, maybe it's interesting to criticize kimchi because so many people love it. So let's go against popular opinion and say kimchi is overrated because it's spicy, too smelly, and too salty. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that position, but it's an interesting position because it will make people feel an emotion of disagreement. And anytime you can make your reader go, well, wait a minute, that is usually good because it means you have your reader's attention. Okay, so don't go too far with this. There's a point where a reader, even a thoughtful reader, will say, no, you're just being contrary just for fun, to be controversial, not because not because there's a really good argument to have about this. I'm trying to think of an example. Most people who argue that Parasite is a terrible movie are doing it just to get attention. Or they're doing it for reasons that come out of ignorance, like I don't like reading subtitles. And that is a bad faith premise. That's a bad faith start to an argument. Okay, if you're giving a position just because you think it will start arguments, you're acting in bad faith. You're not trying to be part of a big, important conversation. You're just trying to get people mad. And that's not the point of academic conversations. So it is interesting and sometimes fun to go against popular opinion, but remember that going against popular opinion all by itself isn't automatically a good thing, because there are people who do it just to be controversial, just because they like seeing someone who disagrees with them get upset. If you're taking a position that's so far outside normal opinions, some people will question your motivation and they'll think you're just being like an internet troll, rather than a person trying to be part of a valuable conversation. So yes, be controversial, but don't be offensive just for the sake of being offensive. So we've got a few ways here to make this thesis statement more interesting. We can go into detail, we can go into deep knowledge. We don't have to go and offend the favorite traditional food of a whole country just to have an interesting topic. There are other ways to do it too. And just to be clear, this is not my real position. I think kimchi is great. Finally, our last thesis statement. Film lovers enjoy Korean movies because of excitement, emotions, quality, stars, originality, humor, and variety. Now the problem here is it the last sentence? We're skipping that one. Does it clearly state the topic? Yes, film lovers enjoy Korean movies. Does it take a clear position? Yes, Korean movies is the topic. Film lovers enjoy them is a clear position. Are they in simple language? Yes, they are. Could smart people disagree about this? Once we get into the reasons, I think there's room for people to disagree about why film lovers enjoy Korean movies. So yeah, it's not the most controversial, but in the same way that the kimchi one, we can make it interesting by giving detail, we can make this one interesting by giving detail too. Is the position specific and focused? Yes, well, I think focus is where we start to have our problem here. Have I avoided overstating or understating? I don't think so. We're not saying film lovers enjoy Korean movies the most. We're not saying Korean movies are the best in the world, which is, it would take a lot more work to show that, to prove that. We're just saying film lovers enjoy Korean movies, which I think we're safe saying that. We're not going to get attacked for it. Is there a preview of my main supporting ideas? Yes, but here's where the problem is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 supporting ideas. And that's just too many supporting ideas. So let's, well, hold on. Does the preview use parallel form? Noun, 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 noun. Yes, it uses parallel form. Have I avoided giving too much detail? We might argue that this is too much detail, or we might argue that it is not focused enough because we've chosen too many supporting ideas. Okay. When you're choosing supporting ideas, 2 might be okay if those 2 ideas are really strong or if they balance each other nicely. But you might have to give a lot of support for them. 3 supporting ideas is usually recommended because 3 is just a nice balanced number in storytelling and also in essay writing. It feels like enough. If you have 4 supporting ideas, that's probably okay if your 4 ideas are all equally strong. If you have 5 supporting ideas, it's time to look at your supporting ideas again and think about them a little more carefully. Because a lot of the time when you have 5 supporting ideas, 1 or 2 of them will clearly be weaker, or 3 of them will clearly be the strong 3. Sometimes you'll find that 2 of them can group together. And when you have 5 supporting ideas, it's time, or more, it's time to do something about it. So what can you do when you have too many ideas? Well, there are some things you can do. One is to delete. Just choose the 3 most important and delete the others. Or choose the 3 that are easiest to write about. This is a good idea if you have a time limit. Just pick the 3 that you can write about the most easily or the fastest when you have a time limit, and just write about those 3. Or the 3 that are most different from each other, or the 3 that fit together logically, like past, present, future fit together logically, right? And sometimes there are ways that your supporting ideas, some of them will fit together logically. And if you find 3 like that, choose those because your support will seem balanced, and balance is good. And so the other thing you can do is group some of them together. So let's look at these 7 supporting ideas. Well, emotions, excitement is an emotion. So we're going to make excitement into a sub-point of emotions. In the emotions paragraph, we will talk about excitement too. Okay. We are also going to, let's see, humor is also an emotion. So we're going to talk about humor in the paragraph about emotions. Okay. And we are also humor is also an emotion. So we're going to put humor into our paragraph about emotions too. All right. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5. That's a little better. Now, originality and variety are both types of qualities. So I think I'm going to put originality and variety into my quality paragraph. And in my quality paragraph, I will also talk about originality and variety. And now we have 3 supporting ideas because of emotions, quality, and stars. That is a nice balanced thesis statement that's not too long, that doesn't give too many ideas. Okay, but we still can talk about all of the things we first wrote when we were brainstorming, just by organizing them into the emotions and the quality paragraphs. So now we have gone through all of these troubled thesis statements and fixed each one by putting it through the filter of these 10 questions. I hope you see that this set of 10 questions is a good way of testing a thesis statement and finding its problems. And I hope it's helpful for you when you need to write your own thesis statement to make sure you can have one that is clear, specific, simple language, using good reasons that a thoughtful person could question or disagree about, that avoids overstating or understating, and has a preview in parallel form. That will give you a high quality thesis statement. And like I said before, having a high quality thesis statement makes it easier for your reader, and it also makes it easier for you as the writer if you know exactly where your essay is going. And that's what the thesis statement does. Thank you so much for your time, for watching this video, and good luck writing your thesis statements and trying to find the best one for you. Good luck with your writing. This is Professor Rob Auerhand. Thank you again.